From Democrat-leaning pollsters to the majority of American citizens, everyone wants Biden to drop out of the race. But is that going to happen? Probably not. Nonetheless, he says that he can be president for 4 more years because he's the guy that shut Putin down. How exactly? I don't know. Lastly, we have the New England Fishery that led to the ruling of Chevron Deference. What does this mean for everyone in America? Let's dig in.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
If you have not already noticed, we have a brand new studio. I'm really excited to show you guys. We have been setting this up since last week. That's why we have not been around all last week. I also went to Nashville, so it was really interesting while I was gone to see everything come together just like this. I'm so glad that we finally have the American flag behind me because, like I said, I love America. America's the best country that you could possibly live in. I love America so much that I want to go to every single state inside of America before I turn 30. So I've been to more cities in more states than most of the people my age have already been. I've already been to, I think, 10 different states. Within those states, I've been to 15 different cities. And I think that it is a goal that every single person my age should have on their bucket list to visit every single country in the world before they pass away. That's my ultimate goal. My goal as for right now is to visit every single state within America because, like I said, America is the best country. We're going to be digging right into the first article we have, and that's from the Daily Wire. So this is very important that everybody gets a grasp onto what we are talking about today. We are talking about Biden's mental decline and the fact that Joe Biden does not want to drop out of the race. Now, I don't think that he should drop out of the race. I think that there's a very good chance that he does not drop out of the race and that Trump ultimately wins the election in November. And I think that it is a very good chance that Trump may win the election. And I think that it's a better chance if Joe Biden stays in the race for Trump to win the election. So please, Joe Biden, stay in the race. I beg you, stay in the race. It's fine. If you want to have your mental collapse on live TV for all of America to see, more broadly, all of the country, all of the world to see, fine, do it. I'm not going to hold you against it. That's exactly why I tell most of the people in my family like Joe Biden. I'm saying, listen, if you like Joe Biden so much, let him stay in the race. Let him stay in the race. Let him have a terrible job in performing so badly that all of the world is laughing at America. Go ahead, do it. Because come November, he will lose the election. And Donald J. Trump, the best president of my lifetime, will get in. That's exactly why I'm saying, listen, do it. Let Joe Biden stay in the race. But of course, everybody sees exactly why I'm saying that, and they're saying, no, we need to replace Joe Biden. Every single person that is pro Joe Biden in my family is saying they need to replace Joe Biden to win the election. They think that they cannot win the election with Joe Biden, and I completely agree. That's exactly why I want him to stay in the race. But nonetheless, Democrat pollsters are even calling for Biden to resign now after an incoherent Step on All of Us interview. So, Democrat pollster Nate Silver called on President Joe Biden to resign the presidency and transition power to Vice President Kamala Harris following his incoherent interview on ABC News anchor George Stephanopoulos. Silver made comments in response to a clip of Biden from an interview during which he fumbled to answer to a question onto whether or not he watched the debate from last week earlier and misrepresented a recent New York Times poll. Did you ever watch the debate afterwards? Stephanopoulos said. I don't think I did, Biden responded. What were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going? Stephanopoulos tried again. Yeah, look, Biden said, and then he paused for several seconds. The whole way I prepared. Nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would be sitting down, and as I did come back from foreign leaders from the National Security Council in explicit detail, and I realized partway through that all I get quoted, the New York Times had me down 10 points before the debate. 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that I looked is that he also lied 28 times. I couldn't. I mean, the way the debate ran, my fault, no one else's fault. Okay, so what does that even mean? Okay, reading that quote is just a big glob of nothing. What are you even talking about? Trying to break this down as farther as I possibly can here. Joe Biden's trying to say that he tried to prepare as much as he possibly could, but he was very busy. He had a lot of things to do. He was returning from a vacation, I guess, meeting with foreign leaders, and he was trying to detail them into what was going on in the world. But because of the fact that he was doing that, he wasn't as sharp as he would like to be, and he was tired. I guess that's what the takeaway would be, and he needs more sleep. That would be the ultimate takeaway. So I don't understand why he wants more sleep. He's already sleeping until what, 10, 11 o'clock a.m. every single day? That's ridiculous. I got up at 6 o'clock a.m. today. I usually get up at 7, so I actually got up earlier than I usually get up. I'm fine. This is 7:50 a.m. I'm recording this at 7:50. I don't get up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I have work to do too. So I do this and then I go to work. Joe Biden, on the other hand, gets up at 11 o'clock and then he gets his early bird breakfast at IHOP or Denny's or whatever the heck. And then he decides to go and do a little bit of work, you know, not too challenging though. And then he takes his afternoon nap. And then he wakes up and then he goes to bed at 9 p.m. So what's going on here? Is he the president of America? Is he the one running the country? Or is somebody else running the country and just letting him just sleep? So I actually saw a Babylon Bee article, and it was actually really funny because of the fact that Joe Biden sleeps so much. The Babylon Bee said that he now is going to work a little bit less because he's working too much, and he will now sleep for 24 hours a day. So it's completely reasonable for him to do that because of the fact that he's so tired already. So yeah, I again, looking at the polls, looking at all of the, like, there's people that can vote on if Joe Biden steps out of the race, if Joe Biden stays in the race, and there's a 57% chance of Biden dropping out of the race. So like I said, I want him to stay in the race, but the thing is, for the country wise, you need to step down. Okay, Grandpa, you don't know what you're talking about anymore. You're senile. You're ruining the country. The way that you're governing is really bad. But the thing is, Kamala Harris is going to be even worse. So I do not want Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is a competent person with evil intentions. She knows exactly what to do to get the job done, no matter what she has to do. Wink, wink. And she needs to get things done, and she does get things done, even though they are really evil. So again, I don't want Joe Biden to drop out to get Kamala Harris into the presidency. Her being vice president is way too much already. So moving into the next article, we actually have the fishery killer. So the fisherman who fought Chevron Deference all the way to the Supreme Court. The following is an edited screen. Oh my God, I can't talk today. Wow, I'm Joe Biden. Reading the Joe Biden clip actually made me not be able to talk English, if that is even possible. The following is an edited transcript of an interview with the Daily Wire editor-in-chief, John Berkeley, and John Lehman, CEO of the New England Fishermen Stewardship Association, on an extra edition of Morning Wire. Okay, so joining us now is Jerry Lehman, a New England Fishermen's Stewardship Association founder and CEO, who filed a brief in the case that ended up overturning Chevron Deference. So, he says where he was raised, and he's been seeing a decline steadily since 2000, and we don't see any new participants really getting into the fisheries. We've moved goalposts too far, and now with these restrictions and quotas, we are now forcing people to buy fish in order to catch fish. And the problem is that the price that you pay to catch a fish is less than the market value once you've retrieved it. So many times when you go into a lease quota, you're only buying it just for the sake of keeping the vessel active. You're not actually making any financial gain. If anything, it's a financial burden. And they've been watching this take place for years and years now, and they've been pushing for fishing vessels to pay for observers aboard vessels, which, if you break it down, now they're going to account for the fisheries to pay more towards observers that they are actually paying our crews, which is not a viable business. And he saw the government overreach and stuff like that. So the observer, and I watched this interview too. What this actually is this observer, you pay this observer thousands of dollars per year to just watch your workers to make sure that they're compliant. But you're paying these observers more money just to watch your workers. And these observers are going to be making sure that you don't break any rules. But the thing is, you're paying these observers more money than you're paying your actual workers. And because of this, the whole entire worker turnout, the momentum, the whole entire idea of your workers trying hard in their job has now depleted because they're being watched 24/7. So yeah, so this is obviously not a good thing. He did not want this to happen. That's why he sued. And he ended up overturning Chevron Deference, which is the best thing you could possibly do, because now it doesn't just save him in the fishery market more broadly, it could ultimately go down to the consumer, and we can end up saving more money when it comes to fish. So that's going to be a lot better now. So now the fish market might go down a little bit in cost, But not only that, but all of these little companies and the agencies across America that are overstepping its authority and making rules and regulations towards us, the people, like the CDC and the FCC and stuff like that, we no longer have to listen to them because they have no right to tell us what to do now. So this is the best thing that could possibly happen, and this is because of the Supreme Court. Now, people are saying, oh, the Supreme Court is awful and stuff like that. No, you don't know what you're talking about. There's people in my family that does not support the Supreme Court at this point because of little things that they do. But the thing is, if you don't agree with the ruling that the Supreme Court did, it does not mean that the Supreme Court is bad. It means that you do not agree with the Supreme Court ruling. I mean, it's so simple to understand here. But the thing is, if you don't agree with the Supreme Court ruling, then how about you sue and try to overturn it, just like conservatives did all of these years? If we don't like a ruling that the Supreme Court did, we're not going to complain about it and say that the Supreme Court should be overhauled and the Supreme Court should not have a say in things and stuff like that. No, what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and say, no, what we're going to do is we're going to slowly overrule it. We're going to sue and sue and sue and sue, and then finally we may get a conservative on the Supreme Court that actually complies and agrees with us on this part. But the thing is, the liberals or leftists more broadly had this ruling for so long. Is this actually helping, or is it actually not helping? And it was not helping. It was causing more harm than good. So in every single aspect of the Chevron Deference. So again, we need to make sure that we are paying attention to evidence. We need to make sure that we're paying attention to common sense, and we can't just be ruling things based off of emotion. We need to be ruling things based on evidence, and we need to be ruling things based on common sense. So if it's common sense that if you release the regulation on the fishing market, then we will see a decrease of fishing costs and fish costs more broadly at the supermarkets, then why wouldn't we release regulations on the fish market to make sure that that fish is more affordable for people to afford, number one, but number two, because it would allow us to fish more and have more fishers on the boats and stuff like that. So now that's going to already decline the fish market. But the thing is, fish is a really good, like salmon and stuff like that, is really good for you, really healthy. So wouldn't we want to advise people to get these healthy foods so people can live more healthy lives? I would think so, because I would like to buy fish more often. I would love to buy steak more often, but with the prices under Joe Biden's economy, it's pretty much impossible to do so. I would like to eat in the carnivore diet like I tried to do. I had steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 days, and it was the most expensive 3 days of my whole entire life. So again, why are we going to sit here and try to do diets that are, so for me, I'm anemic, so I have iron deficiency. So steak and meat is the best thing that I could possibly have. So when I had steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I felt so good. I had 2 full steaks for breakfast. I felt so full. It was all protein. It was like 400 calories. And I was like, wow, this feels great. And then I had all steak for lunch. No onions, no mushrooms, no nothing. Just plain steak, no sauce, just steak. And I was like, ooh, this is really good. And then for dinner, I had the same thing. I had another cut of steak. And then I said, this feels great. Like my body feels great. So I recommend people to do it. But it's just so expensive that more and more people are not able to do so. And that's the sad part about it. So moving into our next article, we have Biden claims that he can be president for 4 more years because he's the guy that shut Putin down. Now, I don't know what he's talking about. You might know what he's talking about. In which way did he shut Putin down? Because in my mind, or in every single American's mind, he actually enabled Putin to go into Ukraine and try to take it over. He said that if Putin invades just a little bit of Ukraine, then it's not that big of a deal because it's just a little bit of Ukrainians' land. So that enabled Putin to go and try to invade and take over Ukraine because Putin wanted Ukraine anyway. So for me, or for the average, thinking American, you would look at this and say, well, what's going on here? You're the one that enabled Putin to do so. In which way did you shut Putin down? So I don't understand this. Nobody understands this, but let's dig in. President Joe Biden claimed during a Friday interview that he's capable of serving as president of the United States for another 4 years, even though 80% of Americans believe that he's too old to be president. Biden made remarks when asked by ABC News host George Stephanopoulos whether he thinks that he could serve effectively for another term. Quote, I'm the guy that put NATO together. The future. What? Biden claimed. This is crazy. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought this could happen. I'm the guy that put together a South Pacific incentive with Eucharist. I'm the guy that got 50 nations out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. No. I mean, I think you're sadly mistaken. You are not the person to put NATO together at all. NATO was put together so long ago. And the thing is, with NATO, Trump is the person to say to the other countries, you need to pay your fair share unless you don't want any support. Because it's not fair for America to be paying all of the NATO fees and penalties and all that when all of the other countries are not doing so. So why would we, as American citizens, be paying for NATO if all of the other countries are not paying for NATO and they're going to get the full support of NATO? That's not right. Just like how we went to Poland and all of those countries that we're not paying and say, no, listen, you're going to pay your dues. If you don't pay your dues, I will actively not only say that we're not going to support you, I will tell Putin to invade you. That's what Trump said. And then he took some heat for it. But the thing is, it's the truth. We need you to pay your dues in the fees because it's not fair for America only to be doing so. It's not right. So he got every single country to pay their dues in NATO. But then as soon as Biden came out, he said, nah, it's okay. You don't have to pay your dues. You don't have to pay the fees at all. It's okay. America's going to provide for you. So if anybody, Trump is the one that made everybody pay into NATO. So again, Trump is not the one that made NATO. Obama's not the one that made NATO. And Joe Biden is not the one that made NATO. So I don't know what he's talking about here. He also did not expand it. So he's not, I mean, unless he's talking about getting Ukraine part of NATO, which it's not officially part of NATO. So what is he talking about here? It's not clear what he's referring to when he made the remarks about Putin and Russia ignored Biden and invaded Ukraine despite his threats. Biden remained in control of Russia and he shows no signs of ending his war. I'm the guy that got the Japanese to expand their budget. And for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of computer chips, he said, we invented the chip, the little chip, the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phones to weapons. And so we used to have 40% and we're down to virtually nothing. What? Okay, so you're telling me that 40% of computer chips used to be made in America and now we're down to nothing? Nothing is made in America now? And you think this is a good thing? Now, let me come across this the charitable way, right? Or at least the, misunderstanding, right? The way. I think that what he's referring to is that the Japanese used to produce 40% and now it's down to nothing, which I still don't believe because the Japanese are the ones that produce that. Taiwan is the one that produces the chips still to this day. If they were to stop producing chips, we're still screwed. So America does not produce chips. Maybe we are going to be opening up some manufacturing companies here in America, but they're not going to produce anything near a company that's been in operation for 20 years. So I don't know what he's talking about here. So I get in the plane against the advice of everyone and I fly to South Korea. I convince them to invest in the United States billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position we're going to own that industry again. So you're telling me that instead of going to Taiwan and telling them that we're going to start making the chips that Taiwan makes, you flew to South Korea and you told them to pay you billions of dollars to make a company in America, which will not benefit South Korea. It will take business away from Taiwan. I'm having a very hard time following along with this nonsense because it doesn't really make a lot of sense here because Taiwan is the one that produces our chips. South Korea, they may produce a lot of chips, but Taiwan is still the major manufacturer that America depends on, not South Korea. So I think that he's mixing up these people. Again, South Koreans are not Japanese, they're Korean. So I don't understand where these people, where the thing is really coming from. Joe Biden's really getting confused here. When asked if he had the mental, physical capacity to be president for another 4 years, Biden said, I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I did not think so. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand the best way has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. What's the completely new level, right? All the way in hell? Because you're taking us down levels. You're making our economy worse than what Trump left it. You're making all of our lives worse. You're getting all of America, not even just America, but the whole entire world into wars. So what new level are you talking about? New level, like we're at level 10 and now you're at level 2 or -5? Because America is doing really bad right now under your pathetic watch. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity, the next president of the United States States. It's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. He claimed it's not about a cognitive of people making decisions. It's about character of president. The character of president's gonna determine whether or not this constitution is employed the right way. What are you talking about? So he or she, what are you talking about? There's only two guys running to be president. So what do you mean he or she? Do you know something that we don't know? Do you think that Joe Biden is going to step out and then a girl is going to come in, like Michelle Obama might come in and take over Joe Biden's position and run for president? I don't think so. But what are you talking about? He or she is going to come in. What are you talking about? So I don't even know how to get the charitable takeaway from that quote because it does not make any sense whatsoever. When asked if he's being honest about himself, about his status, Biden replied, "Yes, I am, because George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think as some of the senior economics and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I'll go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I can get done what we got done." Okay, so in which way do you think Joe Biden's presidency is successful? I will ask you, the people listening to this, in which way do you think that Joe Biden's presidency is successful? Do you think it's his aspect of getting two different countries invaded and attacked? Do you think that it is his failure to get our economy to the point that most Americans can afford it? Do you think that it's the interest rates that are at record highs? Do you think that it's gas prices that are at record highs? What really is it that Joe Biden did great and successful to be named one of the most successful presidents in modern history? Please, because I would love to know, because in every single aspect that I look, Joe Biden's presidency has been the worst, not only in modern history, in history. So I'm just having a really hard time understanding exactly what Joe Biden's saying, but that's exactly what all of America is thinking because nobody knows what Joe Biden is thinking. So with that being said, we're going to be digging into the headlines of the week. Okay, moving into the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. We have activist judge blocks law protecting minors from filth online. So Judge Richard Young, who has a history of judicial activism, parroted the arguments of the pro-pornography lobbyist in his ruling. Last week, the United States District Judge Richard Young temporarily blocked the enforcement of new Indiana's law requiring porn sites to implement age verification services. Young, who has a history of activism from the bench, ruled that the law was likely unconstitutional after a lawsuit was brought against the Indiana's Attorney General by the Free Speech Coalition and several pornography lobbyists. Though several courts have already given the green lights to similar regulations, and the Supreme Court has declined to block them, Indiana now must wait for a full review of the Senate-enrolled Act 17 by a higher court. Okay, we're gonna pause it right there. What in your right mind thinks that pornography I'm just trying to understand this. What has to go wrong inside of your mind to think that pornography should be shown to children just willy-nilly? Because I'm just having a really hard time understanding here why you think that pornography is good for kids. Why do you think that adults having sex on camera is good for children to be watching? Because for me, it's a disgusting thing for people to be watching, even though you are an adult. So for children, it is a completely different idea. It's a completely worse idea. So for us to be saying, okay, it's against the First Amendment, supposedly, to block pornography, which does not even make sense. Because if you were to go into any movie theater and you would want to see a rated R movie, never mind just pornography, a rated R movie in a movie theater, and you are not with an adult, which would give you permission to watch the rated R movie, then you cannot watch the rated R movie. You're not allowed to. You cannot get the ticket unless you are with an adult. And that adult has to show their ID or whatever to prove that you're actually their child. So again here, what makes you think that looking at pornography as a child is an actual good thing? And what makes you think as an adult that children should be watching pornography, period? So again, why? Because it's going to block your viewing of such thing? No, it does not make any sense. You shouldn't be watching it either way. So, I mean, again, if you are going to sit here and complain about, oh, well, I don't want to show my ID because I don't feel safe and it could get hacked or leaked. Oh, well, don't watch it. It's not a good thing. It leads to addiction and it's not good for you. So again, why are we going to sit here and make the argument that it's a good thing? It's not a good thing. Like nobody would argue that porn is a good thing. So why are we sitting here and allowing the courts to to make sure that children watch this stuff. Just does not make any sense. Just because why? You can't take 10 seconds to submit your ID. Why? You don't feel safe doing so. You want it to be anonymous, stuff like that. That's why you go in your private browser to see such things. Okay, but that's not our problem. If you went into the store and you wanted to purchase a disc of pornography, they would ask for an ID. So why is it any different now online? It's not any different. It's the same exact thing. Prove that you're an adult to go on such websites. If websites do not comply, then you get fined. So again, if the websites want to get fined and ultimately get shut down, then that's fine. That's on them. But you need to prove that you're an actual adult to go on such websites. If an adult website contains more than 1/3 material harmful to minors or pornography, the bill requires them to institute an age verification method, such as a mobile credential, or scan the driver's license or other form of ID. An independent third-party age verification service that compares identifying and identification entered by the individual with a commercial database, or any other commercially reasonable method that relies on public or private transferable data such as what can be provided by a credit card. Yeah, so if you give them a credit card, then they would know that it's a credit card. You need to be over 18 to have a credit card, and they're not going to charge your account. But if you don't feel comfortable putting in a credit card, then you could just submit your ID. But if you don't feel comfortable submitting your ID, then you're stuck. In order granting for the preliminary injunction, Young parrots of the argument of the Free Speech Coalition. Okay, but pornography is not speech. In which way do you listen to what they're saying in pornography? It's not like, oh, this is a very good political take right here, and then it's just porn. It's not a good political take. It's just porn. So the pornography access is a fundamental right protected by the First Amendment, says this group. As a result, he says laws regulating its distribution must pass strictly scrutiny, or be at least restrictive means of accomplishing a compelling government interest. So what government interest does pornography have? It's not like you're talking about politics and hating on the government. That's not a case that you should be making. That doesn't even make any sense. However, the Fifth United States Circuit Court has already ruled on the equivalent Texas law based on a precedent set in Gutenberg versus New York, 1968. The distribution of obscene or sexually explicit materials to minors is subject to a much lower standard of rational basis review. The Supreme Court agreed to hear an appeal of this decision, but declined to block the enforcement of Texas's law in the interim. Young, for his part, brings up Reno versus UCLU, 1997, to defend against the application of Ginsburg v. New York. This case struck down most of the Communications Decency Act for being unconstitutionally vague, particularly in its definition of indecency. However, the decision left open enforcement of the new law against obscenity. Indiana law has a clear definition of material harmful to minors, used in Senate Enrolled Act 17. That is based on the Supreme Court's definition of obscenity in the Miller's test. If it, 1, describes or represents any form of nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, or pseudo-manistic abuse. 2, considered as a whole, it appeals to the parent interest in sex of minors. 3, it patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community as a whole with respect to what is suitable matter for a performance before minors. And 4, considered as a whole, it lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. Of course, and pornography reaches all 4 of these. Adults are still able to access this material, but access would be subject to the time, place, and manner restriction of submitting to age verification. Young also argues that the law is ineffective, again, parroting the claims of the Free Speech Coalition without providing any evidence other than potential workarounds of the law. The purpose is filtering and blocking technology as an alternative. He notes that filtering software is not widely used, but blames this on Indiana law, and does not acknowledge that depending on the use of such software, the pursues that parents are actively involved in their children's lives and care about parenting them from unhealthy content online, or even know how to. He also points out that social media sites like Reddit are likely excluded from this law, despite the significant amount of pornographic content available on them. Several sites with a significant portion of use dedicated to the distribution of pornography, such as FetLife, also claim to function as social media. So it is unclear where a line can be drawn for those that may consist of more than 1/3 pornography. In his order, he also claims as a defense that Pornhub is also a blog advocating for legislative change. On their site, in addition to other non-pornographic materials, we are a private building that ordinarily functions as a strip club, acting like a site of a politically rally for a night, I should say. The court doubts the state could require adults to provide identification to enter, he said. However, pornography is still accessible on the website to anyone who accesses the non-pornographic material, so the connection to the case at hand is unclear. Okay, so separate the two businesses. If you do not want your content that has nothing to do with pornography but is also connected to pornography to be blocked, then how about you completely change the website? You say, okay, well this is pornographyhub.com, and then this is the something else / this, and then you would need the identification to get into the former but not the latter. So again, that's not our problem, that's your problem. Sort it out. I mean, again, the Supreme Court does not have to comply with your business measures. The Supreme Court has to rule what's right for the American people and what's actually right for kids and children that is now or could be addicted to pornography. Again, the Supreme Court has the ability and the right to support and protect people, especially children, online. So again, if you don't agree with this, then that's not a child's problem. That's your problem that you need to work through, because you shouldn't be watching this stuff anyway. Because what are you doing with your life if you're sitting here watching this all day long? Even if you're watching it one time a day for 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. Do something better with your time. If we are sitting here watching pornography, then I just don't understand here. Why are we sitting here watching this? And why do you think that children should be watching this? Because anybody that sits there and watches that should know that it's not just like regular stuff on here. It's also fetishes, and it's also other things that are just not flourishing, number one, but not good for children to be watching, because it inhabits values and it inhabits addictions that are not going to be good for them long term. Addiction is not good for a child long term. So enabling an addiction is not going to be good for any child at any point in time. So with that being said, we do have another Federalist article. We have why Nobel literates opposing Trump's economic policies is a ringing endorsement. In late June, 16 Nobel economists led by former World Bank chief economics Joseph Stiglitz issued a letter warning that a second Trump term would have a negative impact on America's economic standing in the world and destabilizing effort in the United States domestic economy. Among the grips, Trump's fiscal irresponsible budget plans and the vagaries of his actions and policies in relations with other countries. In the past, if anything to go by, this is probably the most powerful endorsement of Trump's presidency yet. The letter writers are not socialists, they're all good economics. They know that free trade, free markets, sound money, and balanced budgets are generally a good idea. They also know that good economics the politicians need to get involved now and again to keep the good ship capitalism afloat. That's where things get tricky. Economics are out of their depth in thinking about the complex interaction of politics and economics. As a result, they tend to fall back on a simple rule of thumb. Trust the government when it's run by center-left technocrats like themselves. If populists are involved, they stand in opposition even if the results would be good. They fail to see the populists of the right are often better stewards of the economy than center-left technocrats or populists to the left, I should say. If the bureaucrats had a better grasp of the difference between economic theory and policy practice, they would not have issued their silly letter. As an International Monetary Fund official noted in a sharp reprise to Stiglitz's left populist book, Globalization and the Descendants of 2002, Stiglitz evidently feels that being a top-notch economist is an ample qualification for being a good policymaker. That, in fact, is that Joe got a late start in policymaking and shows it. This is not the first time Nobel economics have miscalculated by dabbling in politics. Back in 1997, during the heyday of the Clinton-Gore technology, a dynasty Congress led by Republican policy populists grew alarmed by the federal debt, which had doubled doubled to 63% of the GDP from a past war low of 31% in 1981. A cadre of more than 1,000 economics, including 11 Nobel laureates, rushed out a joint statement calling a balanced budget proposal unsound and unnecessary. In retrospect, the economics opposed what might have been the last chance to save an American economy from its current physical crisis. So again and again, the economics professors in these so-called elitists that think that they know more than us, the American people, they have been wrong. So why are we going to trust them now? That's exactly why them saying, oh no, Trump is going to ruin the economy and so on and so forth, and Trump is a very bad president and he ruined the economy and this and that and this and that and this and that is completely false, and they're taking it out of left field because of the fact that they're going to do Joe Biden's bidding. That's all that they want to do. So they're not going to sit here and tell the truth. They have no incentive to do so. What they are going to do is they're going to sit here and time after time just make things up, whatever they possibly can make up, to actually get Joe Biden to win again, because they know that Joe Biden is in a losing streak and they know that Joe Biden may very well lose the election. That's exactly why they're doing anything that they possibly can to actually get their friend to win. It's not because of evidence-based. They don't care about evidence. All that they care about is getting the right person into office, and the right person is whoever they want to win. So with that being said, we're going to end off this episode here. If you did like this episode and you do want to see more, like and subscribe, because I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And again, I hope that you do enjoy this new studio that I did build. It's really, really nice. It's a really nice studio. I did set all of this up as soon as I got back from Nashville. In a little bit before Nashville, I was setting this all up. I bought everything, and I was very excited to come back from Nashville, even though it would cut some of my vacation short. But the thing is, this was very important to set up, especially because of the American flag. It looks so beautiful. It looks so shiny. All of these stars that are in back of me are all embroidered into the American flag. So it's a really nice quality American flag that I made sure was made in America. And all of the rest of the things that are around me just go and fit into each other just so beautifully. So I would like to compliment myself in Original Studios here. You can see that right on the right side of me as well. So it's really, really nice here. And I do really thank every single one of you for getting me to the point that I actually can start doing things like this. So I do want to come out with more and more content, but again, I need to keep making content, and this will allow me to keep on making content. I again thank all of you guys for watching me every single day, and I thank all of you guys for supporting me ever since the beginning, because I did start this channel a few years ago, and since then it has taken off way more than I have ever expected. Watching my old videos and watching my old episodes, I'm like, why did I ever think that this was okay? Why did I ever think that this is good? Like, this is not good. This is very bad. Watching even older videos, like not just the things that are on this channel, but things that I just started YouTube like 10 years ago, a decade ago, I'm looking back and I'm like, ew, why did I ever do this? And most of those videos are now private because they're too bad. But the thing is, I kept some of them up so people can see through the years on my main channel, Demetrius Arujo, on YouTube. But I even started YouTube before that, but I since deleted the channel. I wish that I kept it on there so I can go back. But again, you start from somewhere and then you work your way up slowly and gain more knowledge of how to do things and how to do things properly. And that's why I appreciate all of you guys for sticking by me all of these years and enjoying my content, because I do enjoy doing this every single day. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and from the bottom of my heart, and I will see you guys on Wednesday for a brand new episode. Thank you all.